So, yesterday we were looking into the restless mind. The nature of this restless mind is that it's very disquiet, very noisy, very agitated. So, the state of mind here right now is that, especially when you are doing sitting meditation, you will notice that the mind is so uncalm and it's so noisy. It's a lot of thoughts passing through one after another. Yeah. And if we are not careful, of course, most of the time we fall into it, fall into all the story, and you keep going and going and going. So the way of dealing with this restless mind is about coming out from all the thoughts and thinking, planning, memories, and to regard that thoughts as not yours, as not mine. These are just mental creation. These are concepts. These are creation of the mind. Whatever that you see, whatever that you notice inside there, your own face, your departed parents, or your children, or your husband, all these are created by the mind. Somehow or another, you have to able to learn to disconnect. Not to say push them away, but just learn to disconnect from all these thoughts. No matter how strong or sometimes horrible the thoughts or how delightful the thoughts. So once you're able to come out from it, then that is to say there's some degree of mindfulness able to notice it. But you are not able to overcome it yet because the restless mind is still quite strong. So what you do is that this time you label them too. Label them as restless, or thinking, or planning, or memory, or history. Yeah. So whatever that you did, you're able to, you not label them. At the same time also, we must learn to accept them. Accept them here meaning that you should not suppress the thoughts. The thoughts are vipassana objects are not to be in a way suppressed forcefully, because once you want to suppress it strongly, that means it shows that also the mind have aversion, dislike towards all this restless mind. And this restless mind, if we are not able to, we're not able to accept them and so on, during in the retreat, it's going to get very frustrating. The mind keep coming and the thoughts keep coming and coming and coming. Day after day. And it makes the whole retreat very challenging, very difficult, very unsettled in that sense. So here we must learn to accept them. Neither we should push them away nor we welcome them. Here, accepting them means that you truly acknowledge that they are there. That you, in a way that you put a containment on towards it. Although they are still there, but you kind of like put a fence, a containment towards it. Then only we overcome them. The way we overcome them, there are several ways we can do it. Yesterday we already touched on the way of vipassana. The way of vipassana is to directly notice them. Directly go face to face with the restless mind. And because this restless mind, Here, the mind itself right now has having too much, uh, too much wrong effort or wrong energy. So because it's got too much wrong energy, therefore, naturally the mind goes into a lot of thinking. If your mind have lack of energy, then it goes into drowsiness, dullness, and so on. Mm. So here, when it's too much energy, we need to calm the mind down to bring it back to the right effort, to bring it back to the right energy. And here it needs that mindfulness and the calmness of the mind. And also we learn how to arouse that calmness too, together with that mindfulness. So if you're able to sit there and you notice that the thoughts are passing one after another, which is good. If you can do that, you can notice it again and again. And while you're sitting there, then you label it. And while you're labeling it, you also do it slightly slower, like restless, restless, restless. But the object, the thoughts may be passing through quite fast. It may be passing through quite fast. Here, you just learn to slow it down a little. You learn to watch it with more calmness, and yet the mind is firm, not falling into the story. But you know that the story is passing through. You know that faces passing through. You know the scenery passing through, or whatever that is going on. But you kind of like learn to non-attach to those thoughts. And with that, sometimes the emotion may comes in, like anger comes in, or others' feelings may come in, fear, horror type of feelings. And then you note them as it is fear, fear, or delight, 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 or angry, 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 angry. Or if it's just restless mind without all this emotion, then just note it as restless, 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 or planning, planning, planning. Yeah. Until you watch them, until the whole restless mind starts to fade, starts to diminish, and starts to disappear. Once it disappears, back again to rising and falling. The contrast is that when it kind of like disappear, you kind of feel good now, because it kind of like there's a burden is being put behind. Is being the burden has you let go of that burden at least for a while, and it feels quite good. But don't get too attached to it. Otherwise, you have to come back to the rising and falling, to whatever that is noticing, whichever that is clear, and pay attention to them. This way of noticing it directly, for beginners, you always can try this way. But I will assure you, not every time you're going to pass the test. Not every time the thoughts is going to go away. In fact, sometimes the thought is going to get even more, or it feels like it's getting more. Yeah? Because you're putting mindfulness onto it, all these thoughts as if like they are much clearer than before you pay attention to it. Yeah. So don't get disappointed. Just keep on trying. The skills of dealing with it is important. Yeah. You come to a time that when you notice these thoughts, after a while, if your sufficient continuous mindfulness is there, then actually you see these thoughts starts to fade off. Sometimes may not go into zero, but it kind of like goes into non-prominent. It's not prominent anymore. That means kind of like lingering there little. Here you can bring over to other object, noticing other objects. Yeah. But for more advanced yogi, that means you have done a number of retreats and there's a progress in the vipassana meditation. Now then it plays a, then that time it's kind of like different. The moment the restless mind arises, the thought arises, because of your skills of catching them, very quickly the mind cuts the whole thing off. Just by a few noting, the whole restless mind stop. It just stop. Because the mind, the mindfulness is stronger than the restless mind. In other words, the mindfulness is stronger than the defilements. In the beginning part, the defilements, the restless mind, is stronger than that mindfulness. You just walk over the mindfulness. But you can try. You can try. So in the beginning part, this is where our defilements are strong. Our mindfulness is not so, it's quite weak in a way. It's not continuous. You're not really doing the practice, or you're not really truly doing the practice yet, or it hasn't come to a further development. So it's easier for that restless mind or that thinking mind just to overwhelm you. But you don't give up. You don't give up. If you come into this retreat with all these little defilements, then we don't have to set up in the retreat here. Very fast you'll be enlightened. But our mind, our defilements is so horrible, it's so much. We sit there, the mind is not going to want to go into rising and falling. If it's not in the rising and falling, it goes in thinking. Not thinking, go to sleep, drowsiness. So, in order for us to able to deal with this restless mind by using this direct way, we have to build the mindfulness from somewhere else. In other words, from the walking, from the sitting, whatever that you are doing, you keep developing that mindfulness. So next time when it comes again, you have at least got sufficient mindfulness to deal with it. So beginning part, a bit challenging. So stay with it. Now, if the direct confrontation with the restless mind, it cannot work, there are also other ways also. There are also other ways, other skillful ways. Some may not be totally vipassana. Some may be a bit of samatha. Some may be also what you do in your retreat and also what you do at home. So everything has something that you can able to do, and then to prevent or to learn to abandon the restless mind as it arises. Yeah, if it arises. So what can we do in the retreat? While we are still in the retreat now, one of the things that we can do is to use this in-breath, out-breath of yours. This in-breath, out-breath, it's a helpful, especially dealing with the restless mind. After all, a number of you are doing this in-breath, out-breath in the nostril here. Yeah? So, here you can take it up for a while, just for the sake of reducing or calming the mind down. Because that day also I mentioned, most of people taking this in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath, in breath, then everything disappear. Which in the way, it gives you some degree of calmness. So, this time the mind is so restless right now, so it needs that some degree of calmness. So one of the area is this in breath, out breath. So how do you do with that? Reading. Oh, okay. So how do you do that? So you watch that in-breath, out-breath. No, sorry. Let's say you catch hold of all the thoughts are coming in, or it's getting a lot, and this time you're aware of that restless mind. You're aware restless, but this time you gently pull the attention out to the in-breath, out-breath for a short while, just a few one or two in-breath, out-breath. Then it goes back into the restless mind, and then you kind of pull, and then gently again you pull it down to the in-breath, out-breath. Then it goes back to the mind, gently pull, and again and again and again and again, until the mind can stay with the breath for a longer period of time. Huh? Stay for a longer period of time until the whole restless mind begins to slowly fade away. Hmm? That is also good. You can do that too. But it's not really in the way of vipassana. It's the way of just reducing the energy. Just to reduce the energy, bring it to the right in breath, out breath, aware of the in breath, out breath. After that, when the restless mind disappear, back again to the primary object, rising, falling, and so on. So don't stay with it too long. If you stay with this too long, after that, from the restless mind, it turns into drowsiness or dullness. Just sufficient enough for the mind to settle on the restless mind. You are not really seeing the characteristic of the restlessness, because the way of vipassana is that we are truly want to see how the restless mind is actually um, doing what is going on inside there. Hmm? What else can you do? In the same token also, if you don't want to take this in breath, out breath, you also can use this rising and falling. Hmm? It's a similar method, but this time, when you notice this rising and falling, you don't do it with a strong, what to say, precise or thorough noting in the rising and falling. This is more like gentle rise and fall. Huh? So again, the same thing. With the restless mind that you are noticing, gently pull it down to the rising and falling. For a one or two times, then again, you're going to pull you to the restless mind again, the thinking, and then gently pull it down. A few times, you're going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, until it's settled with the rising and falling. Once everything clear, everything the mind settled, then you notice the rising and falling a little bit more thorough. See how it what long, short, fast, slow, and so on. Yeah? Or you can also use the sitting and touching too. In the same principle, that again draw the mind out from the restlessness, then just take one spot and note it for a longer period of time. For example, the palms are touching, then you notice touching, 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 touching. Then it goes back into the time, then bring it back to the touching, 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 touching. Here, you learn to feel what is going on with you feel one or two things like warm or cold. If you just catch hold of the object, well and good, then it goes back. Gently bring it down, gently bring it down. Yeah. So you're drawing the attention out, from the restless mind. Yeah. Whichever, however the thoughts are, just don't fall into the thoughts. Gently you pull it out again and again. Then it helps to settle the mind. What else? There's also another way of looking at this restless mind, but this one much more, this is more complex, this one. This one is to see the conditioning of this restless mind. That means what are the situation, what are the things that's conditioned for this restless mind to arise? And when this restless mind is there, what does it condition the mind and body. So it kind of like you're taking a more broader broader area, and the main subject here is the restless mind. So how? Sometimes, for example, when you notice some itchiness that arises, then it gives rise to a lot of thinking. For example, you're thinking about what insect is biting me, and so on and so forth. All kinds, and then your mind is maybe, and then you start thinking about your health. You start thinking about you're going to get sickness, you're going to get this and that. Then suddenly you realize, hey, oh, I'm thinking so much right now, but the itchiness is still there. But now, if you notice that the thinking mind that arises, the thoughts that arises, then this time the itchiness also is strong. So you're aware of the itchiness there, and you're aware of that mind is being arising this time. Then sometimes you notice that if you pay attention to it, if the itchiness getting less, the thoughts also getting less. Itchiness over, thoughts also over. So subject is the restless mind, but you begin to see the condition that affects it. Yeah? Or sometimes you sit there, you find that your mind is agitated, very unpleasant, and a lot of thinking. And then sometimes you begin to notice certain parts of the body. For example, the heat arises in the body. You feel that suddenly, you feel that the body is getting heat up. Then a lot of thinking arises during this time. So you notice that the heat is directly causing the restless mind to arise. Yeah? Then you notice it how this restless mind is being conditioned by the heat in the body. These are in the beginning part of all this noticing is because you begin to see conditioning, how one thing is dependent on the other one. Whereas when the earlier part we talk about restlessness, just paying attention squarely to the restlessness, that one we don't look into all the other conditions. Or sometimes when you notice this restless mind, you notice there's a lot of thinking. Then you also will notice that the body will start to fidget, will start to move. It's not going to stay still. It's like, and then your hand like that, then like that. Then you feel a bit, that small little fidgeting, you kind of move your leg. You don't realize it. Next time when the thoughts comes in, you take a note of how that small little movements of the body begin to take place. And we sometimes we think that all these are just minor things. So don't worry about it too much. In Vipassana, there's no minor stuff. It's just that you are not able to notice these things. But if you careful with your noticing, stay still, watch the restless mind, automatically it kind of like the body will move on its own. The hands want to fidget, the legs want to move a little bit, the back want to shift slightly a little bit here and there. Don't underestimate all these minor things because it relates back to the mind. And here it relates back to the restlessness. So it kind of like when you watch in this way and you notice that how the restless mind is conditioning all these small little movement, then here again we kind of like watching the conditioning of how restless mind is affecting the body. Yeah? And with that too, the mind also in the way looking directly onto non-self, anatta. Yeah? You begin to look into non-self because here The body move is not caused by any other thing. It's caused by the mind or by the restless mind. You only see two right now, but this is where you train from the beginning, because next time this conditioning going to go even more, like not just only from the restless mind, but the restless mind will cause this will cause that will cause this will cause that. You kind of like see a stream of cause and effect taking place within this mind and body. And then here, the restless mind will cause A cause B cause C. Then it can be from the body to body to mind to body again. Yeah? So a lot of conditioning is happening inside there. So, I mean, this is a bit more complicated, but interesting. Whatever the Buddha thought is within this mind and body. All these conditioning things and so on, it's already here. It's just our mindfulness, our sharpness of the mind, our thoroughness of the mind is blunt. We cannot able to go in deeper. We cannot cut through the concept and to see the reality. In other words, cut through the delusion and the ignorance. It's okay. So it's all about training more and more. What else? Now, there are other things it helps to prevent the from the restlessness from arising. Earlier on is that it already arisen, then we do something about it, then it cool off. But the next few thing is also looking into prevention. To prevent it doesn't mean that you will totally prevent, but prevent in the sense that it has less chances for it to come up. It will still come up. You'll still find a loophole, and then you will put his head up. Yeah? But with the other ways, we help to reduce its chances of coming up. Even it comes up not that strong. So what can we do? Now, a number of things that we can do is like in the samatha meditation. If you learn to take up some samatha meditation or tranquility meditation, that will be helpful. Samatha meditation here, for example, if you take up even like in breath, out breath, and you have to do it correctly. The problem is that with this in breath, out breath, a lot of people, sorry to say, they are not doing it properly. They delight in the calmness of the in breath, out breath, rather than actually staying with the in breath, out breath. I don't want to go into it too much, but if you do it correctly, this one, it helps to settle the mind a lot. Because first of all, samatha meditation, you don't need so much of thoroughness of looking into the various objects, not like in vipassana. Samatha meditation, you take up one object, but make sure that if next time you were to do, make sure you have mindfulness. That means there must be alertness somewhere. If your mind, you do this, any form of meditation, and until the mind is not clear, just calm and peaceful, something is wrong. Something is wrong here. Most of the time is the craving behind it, the delight toward on it. So, if you do it correctly, then this in breath, out breath, together with that mindfulness, then it actually learn to stay with the breath. And here it kind of like help you to distract, or remove all the distraction away. If you're skillful enough, which is good. I've seen in the past that some yogis, they come in from other retreats and they do quite well in their in-breath, out-breath. So when they come to retreat in the Vipassana, which is changing the method, changing everything, but because they still have that mindfulness and that skills of to bring the mind calm, and then all they need to do is bring that skill, bring that mindfulness, everything into the Vipassana, then actually they build up. Things like metta, or meditation like metta, also it's helpful because this metta, it helps to soften the mind. It helps to soften the mind. Metta, the four Brahma Viharas, the four divine abidings of, which is metta, karuna, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita as altruistic joy, and you have equanimity or upekkha. These four. Although these four meditation, you have to develop them equally, but then most of the time, yogis stick to metta, which is fine, not a problem. Now, if you're able to develop this metta meditation somewhere, and as long as you don't get attached to the pleasant sensation, a pleasant feeling of the body, you use them just to make sure that the metta and the mindfulness coming together. If let's say you were to do, may I be free from all kinds of harm and danger, then you must truly wish yourself to be free from harm and danger. May you be free. May you be well and happy, for example. Then you must be truly, sincerely wish the other person to be well and happy. Without ulterior motive, without all kinds of intention here and there. It's just squarely wish the person to be well and happy. Now, if you can do that again and again, repeatedly again and again, you'll find that the mind actually settle down, and over time the mind begin to soften. So when the mind begin to soften, in that context, the mind also doesn't go into a lot of thoughts and thinking. In a way, the metta, in a way, the metta is strong, then this restless mind or the defilements have lesser chance for it to come up. So if you could do that, then well and good. Here, learning Vipassana is already so difficult. One technique of meditation is already quite, it's quite technical in a way, especially this Vipassana. And when it comes to Samatha meditation, it's easier. You don't have to explain so many things. Here, your explain also still doesn't go in. Tomorrow, still doing the same old thing that you're doing. Anyway, it takes a while to learn this Vipassana, and also actually doing it. Nevertheless, since we are talking about samatha in a way is easier. But the result of these two is two different things. One still keep you in samsara. The other one, the whole purpose is to get you out of this cycle of birth and rebirth, and also to cut off the defilements. Whereas the samatha doesn't. Samatha is to help you to prevent that defilements from arising, or to abandon the defilements. It doesn't cut it off. So in other future occasion, it may still spring up. So if you're able to learn some samatha meditation, then well and good. Then it helps to reduce this. What else can we do? Now, here also there's another thing that we can do, is to revamp our lifestyle. And this is a lot to ask. You see, in the modern times, in right now where we are staying in here, earlier on as I mentioned, some talks ago I mentioned, we are bombarded by all information. The moment that we have mobile phones right now, it's so accessible to anything. Now with the AI, anything you want, you just ask. Next time, if the AI is so good, I don't have to come. You might as well report to the AI. The AI will give you the answer right then. Yeah. But here again is an experience. Meditation is all about experience. It's not about all the big, how much knowledge and so on and so forth. You know that in the Buddhist community, or even the monks also, or nuns that I've met, they get tons and tons of knowledge. Some of them, they got degree and PhD. Because kind of like you sit next to them, I feel so small, their knowledge that dump into you. But when they come to meditation, my goodness, they don't even have an ounce of practice. Sometimes I notice that even the lay people have more practice than them. Yeah. They read a lot. They read a lot. They can memorize a lot of things. They can chant and everything, which is wonderful in a way. But the Buddha's teaching, the purpose of building up the sangha is for to give people the opportunity to actually to realize nibbana and to cut off the defilements and to stop this cycle of birth and rebirth. Finally, you know. But then now modern times already goes into in this way. So too with all of us, because of all this knowledge, theoretical knowledge that we have and information and everything, it really makes the mind very restless. You notice that sometimes you hold your phone, your time pass very fast. Sometimes it's like, I thought I hold for a short while and but 3 hours gone. Kind of like play with the phone for a while. So the modern thing is like kind of like absorb you into it. So nowadays you have this mobile phone jhana. You know what is jhana? Mobile phone absorption. Like you sit meditation, you cannot go into like 3 hours, but when you take the phone, mind can just go inside and absorb into it. So much so that our mind is right when we are doing it, the mind keep on thinking and thinking and planning. So with that, when you come into the retreat, so restless mind is getting a lot. Even back in Malaysia also, even they're Asians, but their mind is a lot of thinking right now. Not as simple as before. Not only now, not only the mobile phones, but also next time I will ask them to keep your watch also. But you say, watch, I need to see the time. True, next time bring a manual watch, I won't keep. If you bring next time, you bring all the digital watch. Sometimes also they want to know how many steps they are walking per day. I mean, what for? Every day is the same thing. If you don't think that you don't achieve your 10,000 steps, might as well go another round of 1 hour walking. Put it all aside. So, now what can we do at home or when we are working and so on? Because whatever that you're going to do, next time when you come to the retreat, in a way it's going to be helpful. And you have to do it in a way that you have to do it every day. You don't have to do it too long. just for you to stop everything you do for 15 seconds or 30 seconds. Other words, let's say you're doing the computer, you're in the laptop and you're doing it, and then you're planning, thinking, and so on. Every now and then, what you can do is that you learn to stop for a while. Just stop for a while and just, you want to use rising, falling, in breath, out breath, does not matter. What matters is that let the mind come out from the whatever that you do, then stop for a while, everything. Stop there. Just sitting there, just be aware. Yeah. And you do it, you take this thing, you're gonna not see how the result going to come in immediately. No, because the desire of the mind wants to go back to do that the particular thing is very strong, but you must try to hold it back again. Then just for 15-30 seconds you stop for a while. Stop for a while. Just be aware of the body. Then you do again. After a while, pull the mind out again. Yeah? Say, or maybe there's time for you to waiting somewhere. Maybe if you go to a clinic, just instead of looking at the magazines and all that thing, just sit there and be there, be aware for a while. Even though you're sick right now, not feeling so well, but just stop. Don't worry about whatever information is there. Just feel the body. Feel the body, feel the breath. Some of us, for example, you're eating, you finish eating, and some of you, I think so, and you see me, I haven't finished yet, so you didn't get up while you're waiting. And let's say you're waiting there, stop the thinking, just back again to be aware of what you're doing. Again and again throughout the whole day, not in the retreat, but when you're out there, if you are able to, we are not talking about sitting meditation or walking meditation out there. We are talking about taking that break for a while. If you need to walk from one place to another place and the place is safe enough, just be mindful, just be aware of what you are doing. If perhaps that once in a while you want to go to the park and just be aware of that walking or be aware of that body. You're not really doing vipassana, You're just bringing the mind just to stop the whole everything. In this way, over time, this is where the results going to come in. That whenever you need to stop the mind can actually stop. When you need to think, the mind actually can think. If not right now, sometimes when we need to stop thinking, it just cannot. It just go on and on and on and on. Yeah? So, you're not. I honestly tell you that your way of thinking and planning is not going to get any less. It's not going to get any worse. In fact, that you can see things and you can think clearer. And you don't have to think round and round. You can straight away go into the spot most of the time. So it's the thinking become more efficient, in fact, if you learn to take breaks. And it's helpful. Next time when you come into the retreat, you'll be very helpful. So it's a lifestyle change. Not externally, but internally. Not only in the office, but make sure that those for you, like you're at home, you're doing some things, You can always take breaks also. Or you can do things a little bit more mindful. For example, if you are cooking, let's say, you're chopping your vegetable, cha 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 cha, and then just be aware. Don't hear chop chop chop, and then the mind start to think, what have I put the salt or not? Just do it in the present moment, and here you have to bring the mind to the present moment again and again. This is one thing which is good for you. So just bring the mind back to the present instead of dwelling into our thoughts and our work and so on. Just come back to the present. If you happen to take a break, like you want to drink coffee or tea, that time just sit there, be aware of your drinking. Take a break. Really mental break also, not just only physical break, but also a mental break. Then you break for a while, just come back to the present moment. So too, even you are at home or wherever you are, just take that mental break, settle in. Nowadays, for me, I always take these breaks. Come back to the body, come back to the body, come back to the body. Mm. Also, another thing is to helpful is our physical actions. Our physical actions condition our mind. Now, for example, like when you are here, you are advised to move slowly or slower than when you're out there. The purpose of going slow from one place to another place or even in your room here is to help you to relax the mind. You see, at home, while we are doing all these things, we keep on rushing. Here we want to rush this one, we want to rush that one, we want to rush this one, we want to rush that one. I get it. We understand too. But is it everything needs to be rushed? Not really. But if you are chasing an aeroplane, then yes, sometimes you are late. Better move faster. You cannot be right step, left step. This thing you got to rush. This time perhaps you have to do, but there are other times not necessary. No, so learn to slow down our pace for a little bit more. Learn to slow down a little bit, relax, take the environment around you, be aware of what they are doing. And you have to do it frequently in order to settle the mind. Mm. And also there are even here, I mean, every now and then I do watch yogis how they walk. If you walk slow, then it'll be good. If you walk fast, then if I see it, if I can catch you, then I'll stop you. Or if I remember next day in the interview. I'm quite lenient actually. In other meditation center, if you walk that fast, they will shout at you, the teacher. They don't give a care about whether there's people or not. If you do it again you do it in this way, you can pack your bags and go. They're not so lenient. They'll tell you what to do. You better learn to slow down. Which is actually because they have to manage so many yogis. If one yogi were to start walking all this way, or the next thing, the worst, start talking. It's like a virus. It's like a COVID, worse than that. Very fast, in a day or two, the whole retreat, yogis start chatting with each other. And they really put their legs, they really slam on the brakes, and really those people who are talking, if they catch hold of them, really immediately red card, out you go. Yeah. Is that this one, because they know that when you starts to talk, Then the yogi sees another yogi talk. Wow, it's really terrible. And I've seen it before in the past. Yogis, when they start talking, they start chit-chatting and all that. After that, when they come back to the sitting, is the chit-chatting is still carry on. So much so that it affects the whole day sitting. And then one day you lost. So don't underestimate this noble silence and so on. It's truly to help you to reduce that restless mind. So next time you go to retreats, not only my retreat, but if you want to develop something on the mind, you got to observe that noble silence first. And also you have to learn to slow down. With these two things, at least when you have these two, it gives you a better condition to develop whatever you need to develop. Even metta or in-breath, out-breath or vipassana. So it will be helpful. Talking about this noble silence, during the Buddha's time, if devotees were to come to the temple, bring food for the monks, to offer to the monks, and if the devotees are noisy, the Buddha is not going to accept your food and ask them, you can go back. And on other occasion, the same thing also, that the Buddha noticed that the monks are talking or chit-chatting, noisy, that means in the temple is noisy. These monks are asked to leave, go away and go and live other temple. This is the standard during the Buddha's time, because they know that if you start talking, there will be a lot of restlessness, and it's again unnecessary, unbeneficial. The Buddha says for the monks, if you need to talk, you talk about the Dhamma. Yeah. But for me also, I cannot live to the standard all the time. Because we are among people and so on. Yeah? But if you are in the retreat, we discuss about the Dhamma, we talk about the Dhamma, which is helpful for the meditation. Other than that, all talks, unnecessary talks, we put it all aside. Even talks about non-related, although it's Dhamma, but non-related to the practice, also we put it aside. And also talks about you have to think a lot, also you have to put it aside. Even questions, also put it aside. Even that I say, at night, I don't give you an opportunity to ask questions. The reason is that for some of you, if I do that, before the talk finish, there'll be 10 questions in your head already. You will start thinking so much of it, rather than you're absorbing what is going on. Not to say that I don't give. Anyway, we're going to do a Q&A on Monday night, before we leave the next day. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so as I said, a lot of all these unnecessary talks, we prevent it from coming up. So here we take the noble silence, we do things carefully, and additionally with our schedule, you keep it to walking, sitting, walking, sitting, walking, sitting. So it creates that environment to prevent that restless mind to arise. So all these small little things which we take it for granted outside there. So here it becomes important. So this is some of the things that we have to learn to reduce the restlessness or to prevent that restlessness as much as possible in order for the practice to take place. Sometimes this learning to deal with this restless mind, it may not within a retreat that you get it there. Perhaps you will get it sometime 2 or 3 retreats later. How important this to deal with this restless mind, or the way to deal with this restless mind. So here I give you a number of choices to try this and that. So with that, you try trial and error. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Then doesn't work, try something else. Even sometimes, like when you're sitting, if it's so much thinking there, you try, might as well get up and stand for a while, or get up and walk for a while. Sometimes you walk for a while, it's sort of like ease off a lot of things. Then the mind settle, then after that, come back and sit again. Also, it works. Mm. So this is some of the things. So next time, as I said, when you go back, make sure that you begin to learn to settle down. And then also at the same time, and throughout the days, learn to meditate, do a bit of formal meditation, like 20 minutes, half an hour, or 1 hour. It's up to you. You want to do walking, you want to do sitting, it's up to you. The only thing is that make sure that you bring the mind back to the present moment. Yeah? Yeah. You want to really develop, then you better come into a retreat. Because at home, it's not easy for you to do what you are doing here. If you can do that, then well and good. But for most people, it's not that easy. You got so many duties and responsibility that you have to take care of. All right. Now, last few days usually, the restless mind is going to get more because you start planning to go back. You start planning of what you're going to do at home. Yeah. This is usually, now we start do this meditation is something like that. Anyway, you have to remind yourself that after all, and then you can go back and do all the planning and do whatever you need to do. Here, while you're still got 2 or 3 more days, then try your best to settle the mind to the practice. Whichever thoughts, however it entice you into do all the planning, then put those aside, then come back to the meditation objects. Again and again, you have to come back. Don't fall into those planning too much. We're gonna, since got a few more minutes, and also tomorrow, we're going to look into a little bit on the progress of this vipassana and how this vipassana actually progress. You see, why is it at purpose that we ask you to take up this rising and falling, sitting, touching, noticing the restless mind, noticing the the pain, the various types of pain? Why is that so? Because inherently in all this phenomena of this body and mind, there lies it's the truth. The truth here is not something that you ponder upon. Truth here is something that you can be observed and noticed. And here the truth here, it's come in as the we use the word again like anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness or suffering, and non-self. The word itself, this word itself, it's conceptual in a way. But what you actually experience here in the body and mind is a very fast arising and passing away. But in the beginning part, the beginning practice, you are not able to see it. It's already there. The truth is already there. Now the arising and passing away, the fast arising and passing away, anything that you do is already there. It's already happening in this body. Why can't we notice all these things? Because the mind is not trained. The mind doesn't come to that capacity, to that level, to that penetration yet. It's already there. Not that it will show you only when you're mindful. Not that it will begin to show you when your mindfulness is there. It's not like the actors in the theater. When you go to a theater, when you're there, the actor or actresses are performing everything. When you leave, all the actors also leave. Then there's no show there. Whereas in this body, it all keep on playing. Whether you are there or not there, the whole thing is keep on going. Yeah. That means the arising and passing away is always there. The truth is already there. It's just that our mind is not strong enough, not clear enough, ignorance, and then we cannot notice all these things happening. So we need to have that strong state of mind in order to truly notice what is going on. That is where we begin with that mindfulness. So because we begin with that mindfulness, together with that thoroughness of noticing of what is going on, we begin to go towards the object and we begin to notice the characteristics of the object. Characteristic here means, for example, you notice the rising, falling, you notice the movements, you notice the hardness, warmness, coldness, pressure, and you notice the different aspect of the unpleasant feelings or even pleasant feelings, and you notice the different states of mind, all their different characters. This is how we begin to notice the mind itself and also the body. So much so that when you pay attention to this one for long enough, then you will come to a time that you can actually notice that, hey, the body is one thing, the mind is actually another thing. And they can come together. Sometimes, like for example, when you notice the lifting, pushing, dropping, you notice that, hey, the mind that knows it clearly, not something you think about now, but you can actually notice it clearly that the mind is actually doing the job of noticing the lifting, pushing, dropping, or right step, left step. So, in other words, the mind also become prominent, the steps also become prominent. Or even the rising, falling that you notice, that you rise, fall, then you notice that the rising and falling, hey, the mind also is clear. That the mind that is noticing the rising and falling. Or even sometimes you notice that the rising and falling clearly. And yet at the same time, you notice the thoughts that is going through on top of the rising and falling. And yet you can segregate them. Within this is the thoughts, this is the body too. Yeah. So you begin to notice it, and it kind of shows you there's a lot of this mind and bodily process. So with that, actually begin to notice all these things, you begin to enter into the way of the development of vipassana. That's why right in the beginning part of our talks and everything is to make sure that you know how to notice these objects, the bodily objects, the mental objects, and its different types of mental objects. Be that the mind able to segregate them. And when you segregate them, when you see it, there's only this mind process and mental process. With that, it kind of like you open up on the development of vipassana meditation. Yeah. So tomorrow we are going to look into it a little bit more. We'll look into the development, the progress, to give you an idea, to give you kind of like a roadmap how this progress takes place until enlightenment. Hopefully. Let's stop for the night here.